Hello and welcome to Qsports. I'm Umudu Gajaga and thank you for joining us. Today we shine the floodlights on a name that stirs nostalgia among the old guards of Gambian football. His name is Badu Njai, or if you like, Aliu Njai for short. A man whose journey briefly brought shoulders with some of the stars in North American Soccer League in the golden days of the Soccer League in the United States of America. But beyond scattered memories and whispers of his exploits, very little is recorded about this Gambian hero. Well, today, we let the man himself tell us the story, filling the gaps and also setting the record straight and reminding a new generation of what football once meant to this nation. Welcome to the studio, Badu Njai.
Thank you, Mamadou, for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. First, we're going to look at football in the early days in the Gambia. Well, but you take us through where you started football, where it all began for you, your love affair with football. When did it start?
First and foremost, I want to give thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and also thank my parents for the discipline and the guidance they put on me. And also thank my teacher and my coach, Cherno Toure, one of the, I call him the best physical education teacher that ever grew up in the Gambia. Modu, I was born and raised in Banjul, and my journey started from Haddington Street. But I'm going to take you back in 1974, the first youth week held in the Gambia. That's where all the success came, as far as my footballing is concerned. In 1974, there was this tournament between the teams in Banjul and the teams in the Combos. And we went to the final with Banjul North at the Qsports Stadium. And in fact, if you ask people today, they will tell you, the ones that watch that game, they will tell you that highly mostly played soccer in the Gambia, by far. And we came out as the winner. We beat Banjul North 5-3. And that's where my career, the success started. And I would like personally to thank Njai, who was by far the leader of that team, really. And put that team together. He coached us and also was a player coach and the captain of that team. It was all Njai. And from that tournament, that's why I went, they called me to the national team. And I was the youngest player then in the national team. And that was in June of 1974, after the youth tournament. The youth tournament was in May of 1974. And then I was called into the national team in June of 1974. And I trained with them, never played, but I trained until I left July of 1974 to go and further my education in the United States. And
so not much in terms of local football. You just played in the youth week and then all of a sudden...
That was it.
Yeah, invited to the national team.
I played primary school ball, secondary school ball, and that was it. And second division, actually, I played for Bakau's second division team, which was called Eben United. And I remember my last game with Eben United was at the box bar against Hawks. And I took the ball from the center line and dribbled the Hawks players until at the goalkeeper, beat the goalkeeper. That's when I stopped playing at Box Bar Stadium until I left and went out to the United States. In fact, I had to take off my jersey and just walked away from the field and went on to the stands. That was it. And left here, went to the States, and the doors were open for me. In fact, I was never recruited as a player, as a college player, I was a walk-on. You know, I walked to the team, practice, work with the coach, and that was it. That was it. That's when I started playing.
Yeah.
And I was the only Gambian, I think, if I could remember, who never played first division ball and went on to the national team. Yes, that's the achievement that stays on me.
That's quite a laudable achievement. Fantastic. But let's say growing up in the Gambia, were there any heroes for you in terms of football
of course,
that you
of
look
course.
up to and say, I want to be like this guy?
Absolutely. Biri was one of them. And the other player that I took a lot from him was a man called Body Balance, Old Man Jata.
Old Man Jata, yes.
Yes.
I've heard about him on
Right.
commentaries.
These are the two players that I took stuff from them, you know, as far as my playing career was concerned, you know, and I have to appreciate their talent.
So in the national team, you were part of a special generation in the 70s, but like you said, called to the national team, but never played.
Right.
Yes, and because you were preparing for a competition, and that competition never came along, and it was time for you to go to the United States and to study. Tell us about how that journey in the US, when you got there, what happened?
It was fantastic. In fact, I attended a college called Miami-Dade Community College. It was a 2-year junior college. I went there, and like I said, I was a walk-on. You know, they didn't recruit me. And when I played there for 2 years, in fact, I took them to 2 national championships. In '75, I took them to Essex Community College in Baltimore, Maryland. And in '76, we hosted it. And I was all tournament team, the best 11 players in that tournament. I was part of them. In fact, I was an all-state in the state of Florida. And then I was an all-South picked from Miami all the way to Virginia, the best players. And then I was an All-American. And in 1978, I was the Florida College Player of the Year, meaning the most valuable player in the state of Florida. And the only thing that I haven't achieved, as far as achievement in my career was concerned, is to be named the National Player of the Year in the entire United States.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
But you always featured in the,
Absolutely.
let's say, the best 11.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when from Miami-Dade Community College, I went to Florida International University. It was a 2-year, because you go there as a junior and then a senior. And when I went to FIU, for the first time in FIU history, I took them to the Nationals. And then my second year in 1978, I went there in '77, '78, I took them to the National again. And from there, after I graduated, I was drafted to the professionals. In fact, if you are familiar with the U.S. system, you have to go through college. Before you go to the
professionals. Sure,
yes.
sure.
The NBA.
Yeah, I saw it in the NBA,
right,
where basketball,
exactly.
some of the top players in the college basketball are the ones picked for the NBA.
Absolutely, that's how the system works. You get drafted. And I remember that year I was the only player drafted out of the university. So it was a big honor and achievement.
Let's talk about some of the players, legendary players that you played alongside with when you were playing in the North American Soccer League at the time.
Notably, I played against Pelé, who was by far the best player in the world. I mean, I had people talk about Maradona, but Pelé, to me, the best that ever played the game.
So my generation who argue that Messi is better than everybody who plays football before and even now.
I don't agree with that.
You completely disagree.
I disagree, Modu, because you know why? Some of the things that this generation are doing, as far as technique, you know, dribbling and all that stuff, I did. Pelé did those. They copy all this from us, actually. You know, I see Ronaldo doing these, you know, back step and all
Yeah,
that stuff.
step over.
I did that.
Yeah.
I did that as a player. I
Right.
remember fully doing that. So it wasn't something new or that I'm not aware of.
Maybe so pleasing to the eye now because of
Exactly,
the television
exactly,
pictures, and
exactly.
it makes the quality look good on the pitch.
Exactly, exactly. But we did it all. And the players that I played with and played against, in fact, I played the late George Best, former Manchester great,
Yes.
was a teammate of mine. Gerd Müller of Germany, leading goal scorer, World Cup history,
yes.
was a teammate of mine. Cubillas of Peru, Neno Cubillas, they call him the Peruvian Pele. He was a teammate of mine. So these are the legends that I played with. And people like Franz Beckenbauer. I played against Franz Beckenbauer, and a good friend of mine, because of the connection he had with Gerd Müller. So I became a good friend of Franz Beckenbauer.
Ah, that's fantastic. Those are names that would resonate even for the younger generation like us. We've heard about them. Some of them, we watch their videos. And Pele, at the time, was playing for New York Cosmos.
New York Cosmos.
At the time.
Absolutely.
Let's say, how was the competition like? Because, let's say, the United States of America, they're the only ones who call it soccer, of course.
Aye.
For the general name across the globe is football.
It is.
But in terms of popularity, how was the game like at the time?
The game was fantastically played, by far. I mean, the North American Soccer League produces the best players at that time in the U.S. And we had, all the named players that have played the game had come to America at the end of their careers. So we had a whole bunch of legends, players that played in the North American Soccer League. It was one of the best leagues, actually, in the U.S.
Let's say now, are there any particular matches, players, or moments, experiences that stayed with you since then?
Absolutely, yes. Now I'm less into watching football.
Oh,
yes.
Kind of a disconnect.
Yes.
That would really surprise me.
Yes.
Why?
But I do, when there are two great teams playing, I would love to sit and watch it until the end of the game. But the interest is no longer there that I used to have. And for example, in the Gambia, guys now, they would watch the European League, the Italian League, the Spanish League, than watching their local league, which is, to me, is absolutely crazy to do that. I wouldn't want to watch. I would rather watch my local. That's why football in the Gambia is dead, if you looked at it. When I came in 2002, I took over Real de Banjul. I coached the Real de Banjul and also financed the team. I had a payroll paying my 22 players. I was the one that did that in the Gambia. Also paying my coaches sitting on the bench, helping me out. But from that time, I haven't seen any major development as far as the game is concerned in the Gambia. And that baffles me a lot. Why it hasn't gone up.
So for you, it's kind of really puts you off of the
Absolutely,
game.
absolutely.
That's why you're not happy with what you see.
Absolutely.
You think the career progression of Gambian football should have surpassed where it is right now.
Absolutely. We produce a lot of good players. We have boys now that are playing in Europe, outside of the Gambia, even in Senegal here. But the game hasn't really been to the position that it should be. Look at Guinea-Bissau. Look at Mauritania. Look at Cape Verde. My time, when I was playing here as a kid, we have the best football in the region, by far. Only Senegal was our main obstacle. But other teams, Mali, Guinea, we go toe-to-toe with them. you know. So I don't know what's happening with our football in the Gambia.
Oh, that's really quite interesting. Let's still talk about the United States because that's where you play most of your
Absolutely.
football.
That's why.
Yes, for them, sports, football in particular, with education. In other countries, yes, if you're skillful, you're good enough, you know, teams get you selected and you get recruited by scouts, you play. If you're lucky enough, you go all the way to professional level and, you know, go play as far as the highest level of the game. But in the US, it's different. You know, you have to do both. You have to be educated at the same time play your game, whether it's basketball, football, or all these games that you're supposed to play. Tell us about how were you able to combine the two, be good at books and also be good at on the pitch?
Well, it wasn't easy, but like I say, it was the discipline and the being hungry as an individual. That's what propelled me to achieve what I achieved back in the United States. I was a student athlete. I had a scholarship, both athletic and academic, which is very rare to get in the US. And I will tell you, US have a standard. I mean, if you are a good athlete and don't have the brains, you will not be a participant because they will not allow you. If your grade falls 2.0 GPA, grade point average, they will not allow you to participate. I don't care how good you are. So United States, they have standards that you have to follow. When I went to Miami-Dade, my first 2 years, I graduated with associate in science in business administration. I mean, I went through the academics with no problem, at ease. Then I went to FIU in my junior year and senior year. I graduated in Bachelor of Science in Public Administration. So I had a degree of business and public administration combined. So US, I mean, you have to have a sound mind in order to be able to succeed.
That is going to bring me to my next question, which is going to be life after football. How has this education shaped you, life, and prepare you for life after football? Because obviously football at the professional level is just a matter of years before you retire and then do something else.
That is true. And it was an easy task, to tell the truth, because what happened with me, I graduated before getting into the professional. I graduated in 1978. I had my bachelor's degree in public administration before being drafted. So when I went into the professionals, I made a choice. I played for a few years. I didn't play for many, many years. No, I played for a few years. I think I came out in 81 or 82. I left the professionals and came back to the United States. At that time, I was in Phoenix, Arizona. That's where I was traded at. So I left Phoenix and came back to Miami and went into the professional business world. And I was very successful. I went into the insurance industry. And I worked with a major company in the US up till management level. Then I resigned and opened up my own insurance agency, which I do have up till today. So
it's quite an achievement. Congratulations on that. Yes, many footballers nowadays play the game, yes, because they're skillful, because they think they would become professional footballers. And if they do, they are promised like a lot of money, millions in their bank account. So there are some of them who do not take their education seriously. Maybe a piece of advice.
Well, and I always say this, even when you have a child, the only thing that you can do for that child is give that child a good education. Because with a good education, that child will be able to fit in the world being able to actually successful in today's world. So education is the key. When I played soccer in the U.S. and being a professional, the money wasn't good as it today. Today, now, when you sign that contract, you become an instant millionaire. My days, it wasn't like that. It was few thousands of dollars, and that was it. And that's the reason why I exit early from playing professional soccer. Yes, because the money wasn't that good. But then I had no regrets. I appreciate what I've achieved, and what had came to my life. I mean, I have a very successful career, both athletics and academic.
Still, let's talk about your disconnect with Gambian football, because I think there is a little bit of a gap. When you were playing in the US, where the Gambian national team used to play, maybe in the America Cabral, in other competitions, were you being invited to come and play for the team at the time?
Never did. They have never called me to play for them.
Is it like being somebody forgotten, or what
I guess that was the reason why. And I don't want to put blame to anybody, but knowing Gambia is a country that, I don't know, people are not receptive. If I tell you that this is the first time that I've been interviewed on TV, you wouldn't believe. And when you talk about success, as far as football is concerned, my achievement in football, I don't think there is any other Gambian that have left Gambia and went to the state and achieved it. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. In fact, Modu, I don't know if you know Stajani.
Yes.
I recruited Stajani.
Stajani from Gunjur?
From Gunjur. I came here and recruited Stajani. And Saab went to the same university that I attended in the US, Florida International University. And Star did wonderful. He was absolutely fantastic. Star was, he was just like me, both in athletics and academics. That's why the boy is a very successful guy today.
I'll still bring you back to your disconnect with our football. One will argue during your time, difficult most of the time, it's also sacrifice. That is for the players who stayed here and played, the Biris, the Sehus, the other players who were part of the national team, tried in as much as they could, but could not qualify for the Africa Cup of Nations. Gambia, over the last few years, made it to the Africa Cup of Nations in Cameroon and also Cote d'Ivoire back-to-back. They missed out on this one, which is going to be held in Morocco, the 2025 edition. If you look at both, would you see the AFCON appearances as achievements?
Well, it's okay what the country have achieved as far as putting themselves in that position, qualifying for the AFCON and all that. But when you look back and the talent that this country has produced, the names of Biri, Sekou Sarr, Musa Njai, these are great players, man, that played, that ever played the game, in this country. So it was just unfortunate. And also, I would call it lack of organization at that time, the guys that were overseeing football, people like, Fisco Konate, Sekou Njai, and so many others, they had a great influence as far as who to play and not to play. See, that's what killed our soccer. That's why we haven't gone that far compared to now. Now I wouldn't even give them the credit because there are many things that we could done to achieve greater heights, but it didn't happen. Yeah.
But in terms of structure, that could be some flaws. But as far as funding the game, because many would argue that they dip into their pocket to sponsor football at the time.
Yes, they did. Now they have the money because FIFA is putting a lot of money into our football. But if you looked at our football, it hasn't gone anywhere. It hasn't. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. You know, I mean, we should be by far moved to a higher position in our football in this country because there are millions of dollars that are put into our football. And it's sad to say.
In recent years, have you watched any local football game? Did you watch Nawetan, First Division? Just yesterday, Real de Banjul, your former team, were declared champions after they drew against Fortune 2-all. Have you found yourself? Yes.
Modu, when I told you earlier, when I came in 2002, coming back home, I took over Real single-handedly. In fact, it was Willie Abraham. He was the only person that would come and say, "Coach, here is money to help out." 20,000, 30,000, which I did. I mean, I took over Real coaching them and also financing the team for almost 6 years. And when I left the team, gave it to Musa Njai Kujbala, he won the championship that year. Yeah. I was involved. I was working for the federation. I was in the organizing committee. I was in this and that. But when I see where they were going, I just pull back and say, enough, it's enough. And the reason being, it's because of what I've experienced with them, the federation. 2007, they went to Peru, the under-17. Who organizes the FIFA World Cup Championship? Nene Kubilas, a good friend of mine, who I played with. He used to sit next to me in our locker room. Gerd Muller would sit here. He was 15. I was 19. And Nene was 20. I was sandwiched by these two great players, the legends. Instead of using me to go out and negotiate things for them, they bypassed me. I was in the Gambia then and working for the federation. They bypassed me.
That was the 2005 Under-17 World Cup hosted by Peru.
Yes.
So it was your former teammate who...
My former teammate who was the main organizer. I mean, could you imagine that? And then it is. And then the facility that they were doing the training in the US, in Miami, Florida, the person that was running the facility was our ball boy. Eddie Rogers. I could have gone and negotiate better stuff for them. Absolutely. But they bypassed me.
That's really, really, really sad.
No, and they did the same thing when the under-20, when they went to Canada.
Canada.
Yes.
Yeah, Canada 2007.
When Aksigai led the delegation, King Kuli, Dahaba, all these guys were, I received the team at Miami. They bypassed me and gave it to a Kenyan brother, a South African brother, who was about 200 miles away from Miami to oversee the affairs. And I received them, organized test matches for them.
Can you imagine? Well, in the Gambia, there are lots of untold stories, so it is very good for us to have this. We are now going to get into the local language, but we will have a short break, and from there, we will get into the Wolof version, because it would be good For some of the veterans who played with him at the time or who remembered him, Badunjai is with us in the studio to reflect on the past about Gambian football and when he was in the United States of America to play professional. Interesting. These things that you're saying?
Doreko 20 megabytes be 20 gigabytes ngadal di baneho internet data wanyite bugena maga sirewmi dial star 323 has legi ngatana option 4 ngadal di jenda suñu bundle data package botamu gena wala njek boko don jende ak Qmoney feyal lu tuti ñu jokkale la si internet bu anda kolere si Gambia bi fi pour am cellulaire mun nga call 133 Qmoney suñu kalpe lii dafa ànd ak sarta yuñ teral.
The art of juggling is a true spectacle of agility, coordination, and speed. A symbol of progression, precision, and mastery. .5G speed is like having the juggler in your pocket.
Amazing.
With lightning-fast download and upload speeds, you'll easily be able to juggle even the busiest workdays. Whether you're a busy entrepreneur, a creative, or just someone who wants to stay connected. Juggle your tasks with ease with Qcell 5G speed. The future is here. It's fast, reliable, and efficient. First brought to you by Qcell. We innovate, others follow.
Qcell moy suñu boss. Qcell moy suñu boss. Qcell moy suñu boss. Soro. Go, ebe dawa full network suda tili Qcell. Ni lafta diamla wati jamala mune diata Qcell. Most reliable network jumala keta wati Qcell. Wo quality man nyon soda jam ona manke Qcell. Ani be wuloni farole kono walante be bako na jala fayola network ko se taria Qcell suñu boss. Nyo finjeka indi 3G ñu delu taxi 4G plus and now we bring you 5G. Nadema 5G. First and only 5G provider. Suñu boss. Itella follow adi doron nesa keno. Suñu boss. Gambia bela nyon tawo fele Qcell. Suñu boss. Ko fasunta buka busi Qcell. Suñu boss. Itella multi milka kukutol nati Gambia. Qcell meta lori la kiliano yele imanjina amanda wala itella ka quality dila dadi ma itelle silo wala wodol mume be keno ma. Qcell suñu boss. Qcell suñu boss. Qcell suñu boss. Qcell suñu boss. Connection be bambandi Qcell suñu boss. Qcell most innovative Qcell suñu boss.
Running low on data? Need to stay connected without spending too much? Get 1 GB for just $50. Yes, only $50. Whether you're streaming videos, scrolling through social media, messaging friends, or catching up on the latest news, this offer has got you covered. At home, on the move, or just in need of a quick top-up, it's the perfect data deal for you. And the best part, it's valid for 2 full days. Don't miss out. Dial star 303 hash and choose option 7 to grab your 1 GB data for just $50. It's affordable, reliable, just what you need. For more information, call our customer care on 111. Qcell, Sunubus. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Browse with us. Qcell brings you a promo like never before. Get unlimited internet for just $25. Yes! Recharge $25 and enjoy the convenience of free internet from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. every day with our Browse with Us promo. With this amazing offer, you can browse, stream, and download all your favorite movies for free. So why wait? Recharge $25 today and enjoy free internet only with Qcell between 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. For more information, call customer care on 111. QCell, Senior Bus, we innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back, and thank you very much if you're just joining us. This is Qsports and I am Umudu Gajaga. Today in the studio, joining me is football legend Badu Njai, who played most of his football in the United States of America, in the North American Soccer League back then in the 1970s, and a reflection of the past, how football was like, and the present day football, especially Gambia. Why haven't we achieved so much? Well, his argument is, despite twice appearing in the Africa Cup of Nations, he thinks a lot more needs to be done. But now we're going to get into the local language in Wolof. To be precise, we want as many people as possible back home watching to reflect on the past and see those who've watched him play. Well, if you have any memories of him, this is the time for you to reflect back. Mbokk yi nga xam ne yéen a ngi seetaan man la Mamadou Gajaga ñu ngi fii Qsports. Tey gan bu màgg lañ am si biir studio bi mooy Badu Njai. Moom daf daan play football but jamono bu mu daan play football man fekk judooguma de ay 1974 75 76 78 yooyu noonu non loolu time boo xam ne daal mun nañoo wax lu bari si football. When it comes to Gambian football moom play wut lu bari in terms of national team ak yeneen teams yi, because moom most of the football bu mu def at the professional level United States of America, but daf daan def football di jànga waale tamit at the same time. Ñëpp xam nañ ne njëriñi jànga waaw moom si boppam dina dugg si loolu noonu. ñu ngi lay dalal jaajëf pour noo ñëwee suñ programme bi ñu laaj la rek football jamono démb ak football léegi.
jërëjëf Modou, kontaan naa trop ci li ma indi fii ñuy wax yëfi football dafa nekkoon loo xam ne dafa nekkoon ci man bu ma bëggoon la bi ma nekkee xale. waaw I remember in the streets of Haddington. In Haddington team bi maa fi gënoon a tuuti. In fact, the late mayor of Banjul, Laiba, was on our team, on my team. Nabi Bensouda, Ibrahima Chosar, ñii ñoo nekkoon ci sum team. Ousmane Diop, xam nga ma gënoon a tuuti ci team bi waaye maa leen gënoon a ñeme ñoom ñëpp. Après ñu ngi daan compete ak team from Ingram, Golden Stars, ñoom Cheikhou Sarr, ñoom Adama Samba Hala, waaw ñoom Liet MS Ndiaye, Omar Ndiaye, BS, Baboucar Sala, ñii lañ daan competal ñoo nekkoon Ingram. Den nga dem Peel Street, ñoom Tamsir Mbay, ñoom Badou Cissé, ñoom Aliou Diop, ñoom Kotu Cham, ñii lañ daan playal against. Nga ñëw Primate, nga am ñoom George, am ñoom kii naka la tuddaati waay Lay Diba, Thiala, ñoom Seni Sen, ñii lañ daan playal against. Den nga dem Lancaster nag by far ñoo amee woon the best team. They used to call them Moscow 11. ngi am ñoom BY Seka, am ñoom Aliou Sarr, ñoom Diouf Faye, am nga boys yi lañ daan playal against when I was a young kid growing up in Haddington,
soo ñëwee si wàllum football yi Gambia foo play foo xam ne daal xaw naa siiw tuuti mooy Youth Week bi te def nga foofu ndam diggante Banjul ak Bakaw time boobu noonu.
Man actually comme li ma ko woon earlier fala suma success in football jógee, xam nga ba tax gars yi d'accord ne mun naa nekk ci national team bi ñu dugal ma fa. maa fa gënoon a tuuti waaye unfortunately musuma playal di national team te man maa ci ndongo yi nga xam ne playuma first division in the Gambia. Musuma play first division in the Gambia. In fact, team yi ma doon war a playal mooy Real di Banjul. ñoom ñoo ma joxoon boot sax US pour ma join team bi. te li tax ma join team bi ñetti nit la woon. di lead Ñanga Sala, the late Yusufa Sibi Captain Sibi ak Baba Mbow ñoo ñëw ba suñ kër Bakaw ma booy yow la ñiit yow yaa di missing link pour Real mun a dem ci kanam noonu laa joine Real fekk club si yëpp du Walidaan du Hawks Ousseynou ñii ñëpp ut si nañ ma Augustinians ñii ñëpp ut si nañ ma waaye ma chose Real because Real was the younger team te ñoo daaxoon football back then in the Gambia so looloo taxoon ma ne Real life player waaye then July of 1974 laa fi bàyyi dem jàngi US.
boo àggee Amérique jànga moo la fa yóbbu but si diggante bi mujjee woon ngaa play football ba àgga ci kaw a kaw.
absolutely Modou bi ma demee US ma dem I attended Miami-Dade Community College. Miami-Dade Community College recruituñ ma as a soccer player de man dama demoon pour jànga. Then what happened bi seen season bi commencé season starts in the fall so ñu doon practice so ma dem xam nga being a football player xam nga game boo xam ne dama ko bëggoon te mënoon naa ko so ma dem gis coach bi seen training session bi waxam moom fekk moom si coach bi si boppam sax amoon na mu ma doon seet you know because fa naa gisoon na ma because he was my tennis teacher so gisoon na ni ma daan play ball be yooyu noonu xam nga tennis ball si di ko jogu la yooyu noonu so mu gis ko so ndeke moom tam mu ma wóor ci collègue bi waaye den man maa demal suma boppa so noonu laa joinee team bi waaw ba pare bi ma joinee team bi I mean at the beginning it wasn't easy because I wasn't fit.
yaa ngi tuuti.
maa ngi tuuti fituma xam nga because I wasn't playing ball.
Yeah.
So then after sila boka ba ma bokkee then the rest was history. Yes, I became the best. The soo xamee Miami the composition of Miami the city of Miami it's a melting pot. ñun dañ am South Americans yi dañ am the Caribbean and these are footballing nation. Haiti they went to the World Cup in 1974. I played with their captain Asin Agus. In fact Asin nekk na assistant coach to Moussa Ndiaye former Real de Banjul player former first technical
director waaw Moussa Ndiaye remember naa ko.
Yeah Asin. So why so when it's come to soccer in Miami, I was the guy. I was Mr. Soccer. Ñëpp maa leen mënoon in Miami at that time. You know.
si diggante bi tamit yaa ngi bokkoon ak ñi nga xam ne dañ match si football at the time. yaa ngi waxoon fii mbiri ñoom Gad Mola. Pele moom mu ngi woon Cosmos. At the time.
Yes.
da ngeen leen compétent.
Yes. Pele moom nag unfortunately man biñ ma drafté may ñëw ci league bi moom si la retire waaye play na against because gars yi dañ ñëwoon pre-season training in Miami and ñun suñ FIU team bi ku ñëwaan Miami di nga play against ñun you know for a pre-season match you know so that was li ma amoon ak in fact Malmo biñ winee the European I played against Malmo of Sweden. Yeah, in 77, you know. So, dama nekkoon ci culture boo xam ne in the US and the university boo xam ne daf ma joxoon that privilege pour play against top players ci àdduna si.
waaw dina am solo trop amatuñ time bu bari. nga tënk ko rek su ñëwee si Gambian football. jëm kanam bi ñaaka dem jëm kanam bi soo ko xoolee yow sa jamono si diggante bi nag last 5 years or so Gambia dem nañ Africa Cup of Nations ñaari yoon but wax nga fii si angale ne comme doyut soo xoolee Gambian football talent suñ dee produce war naa ëpp loolu noonu.
Absolutely Gambia waroon na ñoo dem fu sori Modou comme ni ma la ko waxee su Guinée Bissau tey di compete
Mauritania.
At the highest, Mauritania. These are teams in the 6-0.
nga fàttali ko man mi ngi nekk xale sax.
yes
ay 1997 1995 ba 1993 yooyu noonu. waaw play nañ matches yi nga xam ne man commentary laa ko déglu. foo xam ne door nañ ay Mauritanie ay 6-0. ay 6-2. ak yooyu noonu 5-2 4-0 yooyu noonu.
waaye seetal tey Mauritanie.
waaw ñoom ñu raw si football
ay highest level. xam nga.
ranking bi sax
Cape Verde competing in the highest level. waaye ñun lana tax mu ñoo dem kanam te naa la wax leen na Modou talent bank fii we have the talent. ma ne la man bi ma jógee fii dem US I was Mr. Soccer. I was a household name in Miami. waaw ku nekkoon Miami booy si nekkoon Miami yëpp xam nañ loolu ñi ma fa nekkaloon they know. ba tey ma ne la last year rek dañ doon honor 84 team bi saa yu ma demee dañ maa invite honor ma ba tey yes dama dem tase nit ci mall koo xam ne xamoon na ma o papaam xamoon na ma mu ñëw ma sign autograph yes I still do that.
te yow loolu si dëkki jàmbur nga koy am. du fii moom nit ñi xamuñ la sax.
non xamuñ ma. non suma maas gi. ñi ma ak man ñi ñoom xam nañ ma waaw ñoom xam nañ suma football bi ma def fii indi Gambia te loolu yëpp Youth Week bala woon 1974 bi ma jógee Banjul ñu toxu Bakaw I mean suma team Bakaw local team mooy woon the best man maa ñëw Modou Moussa Modou Ndiaye kii Baboucar Jammeh Loppi am nga these were my teammates Gawdi Diallo these were my teammates and they all I mean we had the best team in Bakaw Flaming Stars.
léegi pour tënka wax bi looy yeedee xale yi nga xam ne dañuy football léegi.
well li ma wax xale yi mooy ne leen football rek is not the ultimate nañ dugal jànga waaw
métier tamit
waaw métier nañ ko dugal seen biir bu ñu rek football dafa joxe millions and this and that non nañ ci boole jànga ñu jànga because ëllëg si biir soo jàngee believe you and me di nga ko gis waaw because man I went jaar naa ci te xam na li ma jàng bi njëriñ waaw man mun naa la ne Modou may koo xam ne dem naa America sonuma waaw liggéey naa fa ba retire ñib si waat fii sonuma waaw and I'm so thankful grateful for that waaw te yëpp suma parents la because maa bàyyi waaw
baax na torop. Yeah, it's a pleasure, Badu. It's been an absolute privilege having you today, and the football culture that often it's like the architects of the game are often forgotten, but it's good to remember your story today, and you shared it with the wider audience. So many people in the Gambia, even some of us who've never watched you play, heard your story, and we're really proud of you. Thank you very much for coming to the show.
Thank you, Modu, and I appreciate for having me over. I do thank you very much for that.
Thank you. That's it for Qsports. Until next week, keep on sporting. Bye for now.